Boom, everybody.
Boom, whoa.
Hello, welcome to a very extra duper special, if that made any sense, evening with live show. We have the voice man himself with two N's, Dave McRAE. Hopefully most of you are familiar with him, but there's probably a select few of you that may not have heard of Dave McRAE. So we wanted to get him on because he is, this is the crunch time, as he would say. This is he's gearing up for another Indiegogo campaign for It's Me, Billy Chapter 2. So we wanted to, help as much as we could, spread the word, get it out there. In case you aren't familiar with his channel, it is linked down below, and come May 1st, that's where all the information is really going to be. Once the Indiegogo launches, we'll put the link in the description in case anyone finds this, maybe a month or two after this. Yeah, go to Dave's channel, obviously subscribe. He's one of my all-time favorite YouTubers.
And by you having watched him so much, I've become a fan.
You've become a fan of Dave. So this is a cool one. This is a really cool one. I first had Dave on my podcast. We were just discussing this. We're thinking like towards the tail end of 2019, but it released February of 2020. So literally right before all that pandemic crap happened. That is when I first spoke to Dave. And I believe that was when he was gearing up for It's Me, Billy. So kind of cool how it's almost in a way come full circle here. And now we're getting ready for Chapter 2. So you actually watched It's Me, Billy for the first time. What, yesterday?
Was it yesterday? Or
recently?
Yes, very recently.
What'd you think? Before we bring him in.
Oh, putting me on the spot. Oh, as somebody who has like an affinity for horror, like a super strong appreciation for the craft in itself, so, like seeing somebody, take like one of their favorite movies of all time, giving this sort of not a male fan letter, but like a love letter to it. And, having it become what it is, it really doesn't feel like a fan film. It feels,
you were saying it's obviously beautifully shot.
Yeah.
Perfectly executed in terms of direction. It's him and Bruce, his real good friend. So it's like it's a co-direction kind of thing. Yeah. It's the Coen brothers in a way.
It's literally like I aspire to do something like that in my future. And, to have it be so successful, to do a part 2 to it, it's like, oh my God, like that's like in my mind, like that's success. Like that's like, I feel like I would peak, but you don't want to think about that. You want to keep going above and beyond. And that's what I believe Dave here is doing.
Yep.
But
let's see who's joining us tonight, and then we will bring in Dave McRAE. We have Adrian James going, hey there, fans of something, and Dave. We got Laren. Boom. Hey, Ed, Haley, and Dave. Good evening to you all. Laren, I'm really curious. You're one of our moderators. Have you heard of Dave McRAE? Because you're the movie guy. So I'm curious if you've come across Dave's channel yet. Durant Cinema, obviously. He's a follower of Dave. How's everyone doing tonight? By the way, Dave, love your name. Actually, you know what? I think on that note, because I want to get his response, let's bring him in. It is, ladies and gentlemen, Dave McRAE.
Thank you, everybody. Please sit down. Please. Thank you. There you go. Right on cue. That's right. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. This is going to be fun.
Yes, sir. So we were trying to figure this out the last time we spoke, and it was pre-pandemic. That's all we know is pre-pandemic. And you were gearing up for It's Me, Billy, Chapter 1.
I was, yes. So we've narrowed it down to about February of 2020.
Yep.
And at that time it was just before the pandemic. it was already rearing its ugly head. You know, it was, you know, but it hadn't hit North America with a full kind of, you know, punch yet. And because we were actually at that time, Bruce and I had planned to visit the location where we shot the film for our first location scout in March of 2020. Now that had to be delayed until July of 2020 because of the pandemic. So around that time when we spoke, yeah, it was very early on. The campaign hadn't launched yet. We're in we were in a pretty much similar position that we're in now talking to you. So maybe you're the good luck charm. Maybe that's it. I need to talk to you. You know what I mean? To get this thing. Yeah.
We're excited. We're excited because you know, at that time, just being completely honest with you, I was not a part of that initial campaign, just for various reasons. But this come this time, I'm picking up that Blu-ray 2-pack, and I'm excited for it. So
it's way to do it. Great to have you on board. Yeah, we're gonna need all the help we can get. You know what I mean?
Yes.
With crowdfunding, you never know what you're gonna. I mean, we were just blown away by what happened before. So hopefully everybody comes out again so we can complete it.
Yep. And you're aiming for, the first one was 60,000 is what you were aiming for?
The first chapter was the budget was 60,000 Canadian, because obviously I'm Canadian here in Toronto, and which is about 48,000 US, something like that. We raised 64,000, which was great, because when you can always raise a bit more, that's always good. That there's always fees and, you know, contingents. There's always stuff that can go, perks, all that kind of stuff. So that was great. This time around, it's going to be higher. For a variety of reasons. Just the cost of everything in the world has gone up. Salaries go up. Things go up. I can't speak too much on some of the reasons why, but there's reasons why costs have gone up, and so, you know, we're probably Canadian dollars. We're probably looking in and around close to, you know, 100,000, if not a little bit more, which would be about maybe 60 or 70,000 US, which, you know, sounds like a lot of money. I mean, it is a lot of money, you know, but for a movie, it's still a no budget project in the world of movies.
Right.
But you know, just, I'll just leave it at that. It will be a bit more. It will be a bit more. Yeah.
Sweet. I'm excited for it. I'm excited.
We are too.
We got Mizzy in here saying, "Hey Dave, big fan. Can't wait for Dylan's new Nightmare and It's Me Billy Chapter 2."
Hey Mizzy, what's going on? Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So throughout, we're going to be asking questions. Like, that's part of the whole In Evening With. We have predetermined questions that we're going to pop up on the screen. But we're also going to take some of the chat room questions as well. We got Horror and More, one of our moderators.
Horror and More. I love it. Hello, Horror and More.
Yes, she's a great channel. She's a great up and coming horror channel.
I'll have to check it out.
We got Physical Mediac. Yes.
Oh, I like that name too.
Yeah.
Some great names.
Obviously, good old Ollie. Yep.
Oliver Mercer. I know Oliver Mercer well. Hello, Oliver.
Yep. It's funny how you realize, like, there's, like, you know, there's those certain people that show up in multiple channels, everywhere. Oliver's one of them.
They're watching everywhere. Oliver's got a list of all of our schedules, and he's there.
But fire away any questions you have in the chat room for Dave. We're going to be bringing up, like I said, a couple questions of our own. And the first one is, so we wanted to start off light, and then towards the end, we wanted to get into those deep questions.
Sounds good.
So this one, hopefully, chug your water here real quick, because
this is your life. This is your life. This is my life.
We don't want to make you laugh too hard on this one.
Okay. All right.
Here we go. Where did you get the "I don't give a frog's fat ass"?
Actually, from the first Vacation movie with Chevy Chase.
Oh, okay.
He says, "I don't give a frog's fat." I forget where he says it now. God, I'm gonna be 44 next month. That's what happens. It just goes in blank. But that's where I got it. It's Chevy Chase. I'm pretty sure it's from the first Vacation movie. He might have said it in some of the other ones, but I'm pretty sure it's from the first Vacation movie, 1983, the one where they go to Wally World.
Yep.
And he says it in there. I don't give a frog's fat ass. Maybe it's at the beginning. He's talking to Eugene Levy. I can't remember now. There's somewhere in there where he says that, and that's where I got it. And I've been saying it since I've been saying it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I got it.
Yep.
Yeah, being somebody who's only seen Christmas Vacation, I heard the saying first from you, and let me tell you, I think I was in tears.
Well, it's funny. Let me see if I can just hang on a sec here. Vacation. Frogs, fat ass. Now you got me curious here. Here we go. I don't give a. This is a. Okay, so yeah, no, it's in. I won't play it obviously, but it's I don't give a frog's fat ass who went through what. That's the line. I don't give a frog's fat ass who went through what. So it happens in the first Vacation movie after Chevy Chase has been found in the desert and they got the new tires on the car, which of course are ball tires with no grip. And Ellen is driving the car and Chevy Chase is in the passenger seat now, and they're having some sort of, domestic discussion. And he's like, I don't give a frog's fat ass who went through what. And so that obviously was very impressionable on me as a young kid. So
it just stuck.
It just stuck.
So you were thinking it was like a Dave original.
I did.
Yeah.
No, I Chevy Chase sends me invoices every year, so it's not mine.
But it's a perfect saying because you can apply it to and obviously you say it a lot on your channel, but I mean, I'll say it from time to time, I don't give a frog's fat ass.
Well, now I'll be sending you invoices for Chevy. Yeah, no, it's great. I think that's why it stuck. It's such a great line.
Yeah. Because here I am thinking of a frog with a fat ass.
With a fat ass. That's right. That's right.
All right. So there we go. In case anyone was wondering, I'm sure some people out there have been wondering.
I was.
It's one of the all-time great lines, and we're going to give you all the credit. Chevy Chase is,
of course,
old and grumpy. So
yep, it's true. It's true. And I mean, I've taken it to the next level.
You really
know
have.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
But I mean, you have a whole plethora of sayings.
I do. Yeah. Some are not original. Some I picked up when I was a kid. I either heard it on Alf or I don't know, an Ernest P. Worrell, commercial or something. I mean, and then there's some that I have just sort of made up on my own. I can't think of any off the top of my head now, but yeah, I always I guess when you're an animated individual and you're theatrical, sometimes you have a Rolodex of funny sayings. So.
Can you hit us with, because I know you have it on your soundboard, the Butt Dave?
You want me to say it or you want the soundboard to say it?
The
soundboard. All right, let me see here.
Here we go.
Hang on a sec here. Hopefully you'll hear this. Hopefully your audience will hear it. There it is. Okay.
Butt Dave!
There it is.
There it is.
Oh my God. It feels so special to have that on our channel.
It's so good. It's so
there.
good.
Feel free to use it. I mean, it might not make sense because neither of you are named Dave, but whatever. It's fine.
No, it's here. It's here.
Exactly.
So this is like a nerdy off-topic question, but do you still have the Rodecaster 1 or did you upgrade to the 2?
No, I still have the 1.
Okay. All right. That's what we're using too.
Yeah, I didn't bother to upload or upgrade to 2 unless it's, unless I mean, there's nothing wrong with this, for what I do, there's no need to upgrade, unless in the world of, well, maybe this is a common saying just in gearheads, but I learned about 10 years ago, there was a fellow voice actor who said, oh man, I've got major gas. And I'm like, major gas? What the hell's going on? He's like, gear acquisition syndrome. So GAS, gear acquisition syndrome. And it's just when you get into this, like, oh, it's brand new. It's shiny. I need that. You don't need that. Right. This one's perfectly fine. No, but I need it because it's new, Yep. So I've been trying to manage my gas over the years. I don't need the second one.
The latest.
Not yet anyway. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't even know what the differences are, honestly, between the 1 and the 2. I don't know what the 2 does.
Well, it looks different. It's a bit of a different design, and there are some functional improvements and things like that. But it's not, for me, it's not enough to warrant shelling out another $1,000 for an upgrade when this is perfectly fine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
yep. And then obviously you use the Shure, which is what Joe Rogan uses.
I do, yes, Shure SMB, Shure SM7B. Yep. I use this for YouTube and podcasting, all that and all that. I don't use it for voiceover. I could, but I don't. I use different mics for that.
Gotcha. All right. This next one is one that you came up with. We tried to alternate coming up with questions here. So
Okay.
Feel free to read this one when it pops up.
All right.
Well, so, I am in the film art field myself. What is something that you would give a younger person or even a younger version of yourself? Like, what would you say to them just starting out in that showbiz, if you will?
Oh man. I mean, it's
loaded.
Yeah. No, but it's a great question. So, I mean, obviously everybody's journey is different, you know what I mean? And everybody is different, you could say the usual platitudes or, whatever. I mean, you got to believe in yourself and you got to do this and you got to do that. And that all is true. That's all true. I think some of the stuff that I've learned over the years is, and I'm still learning to be better at it, actually. Even though you might be surprised because I am a good communicator, but it's still making those connections. You know what I mean? Surrounding yourself with the right people, and that's a journey in and of itself, because you're always going to meet people that you think are great, and then you're going to meet people that are great, right? It's a very competitive field. It depends on how far, like, if you're serious about pursuing a career in the entertainment business, then there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made. It's just the reality. It's just because of the nature of the competitiveness of the business. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't wait for you. It's not, if you are established, and you are, well established. I don't mean you have to be an A-list star, but you are well established. Then maybe you can take those risks. I mean, that's why a lot of women, especially when they get into the entertainment industry, will often have kids later, after they feel that maybe they can afford to. I can now afford to take 2 or 3 years off, be there for some important years of my child's life, and come back, right? Whereas when you're first starting out, that can be, I mean, I don't want to speak for all, women, of course, but I do know that's a thing that, you think about, right? And so, I think it's hard to say. There's not one specific thing. I think it would be, know what you're passionate about, because there's such a broad thing, right? I mean, the entertainment industry is music, it's voiceover, it's film and television, it's, the studio executive side, it could be sports as well. Know what you're passionate about, and do everything you possibly can to give yourself the opportunity to be okay if you don't make it. I think some of the biggest regrets that people have is it's not that they didn't make it. It's that they regret doing whatever they could to see if they could. Right. And I think most people, I know myself included, I would like to think most people, if you really gave it your all, you know what I mean? And you're giving it your all, and you still don't, for whatever reason, you're not talented enough. It's just too competitive. Life happens, right? Things in your life take you the other way. Who knows? I think people can look at it and go, well, you know what? I mean, I gave it my all, I really did. I think people can live with that. I think it's the regret from not trying, not doing the things that they feel they need to do, that little voice that sits on their shoulder, you should be doing more of that. Why aren't you doing that? You know what I mean? I think that's a big part of it too. So I know I'm giving kind of a roundabout answer, but without knowing you obviously personally and the specifics, I just thought I'd be more general with it, but just always having a focus, doing what you can within, I mean, obviously don't bankrupt your family or your life. I mean, that's, that's ridiculous, but do what you can within your means to always be pushing yourself towards that goal, whatever that goal is. And that's advice for anything really. Right. But understand that it's a competitive business. The competition is fierce. There's a lot of people that can do what you do, can do and do it well. I often say that you can teach technique, but you can't teach talent. You either have it or you don't. It sounds harsh. It doesn't mean that you can't improve and get better, but there are people that are just gifted born performers, that just have that it factor. It will always look easier for them. God, they're just so like Robin Williams, guy's so brilliant. You know what I mean? This guy's so brilliant. He's brilliant. How's he doing? He's just, and it can be difficult. You see it here on YouTube as well, with people who are trying to get channels going, they put themselves out there, but for whatever reason, it doesn't take off. It could be because they don't have an engaging personality. It could be because they can't keep the attention of, the viewer. It could be because of the topics. It could be because of a variety of things. Right. But I think most people can settle and be okay if they give it their all, and do your best to surround yourself with the right people who can set yourself up for that success, because half the battle of success is surrounding yourself with the right people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Just the way you speak. I mean, really just.
Well, it's experience. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, and I mean, two totally different fields. You're in the voiceover, acting side. You want to do animation.
All the while
Animation,
in the
like illustration and things like that.
Yes. I'm currently in school for 3D concentrated animation.
Very cool. That's
So-
cool. That's cool. Well, listen, I mean, I wish you the best of luck with it, and if you have a real passion for it, I think that's great. And there's a big business out there for that. So I think that's really cool. I think that's great. Bruce, my brother from another mother, my best friend of over 30 years, the guy obviously who I'm doing the films with, he went to OCAD in Toronto, which is it's called the Ontario College of Art and Design, but it's actually a designated university. And he's a visual artist. So he draws and paints and all that kind of stuff. And he's fantastic. I don't know if he did any 3D, because this was obviously, he graduated almost 20 years ago. So I don't know if they were doing 3D animation back then or not. But he's, so I have a great appreciation for anything visual art, in terms of that regard. So I think that's great. I think that's really cool.
Thank you. Wow.
And that's funny. You said OCAD.
Mm-hmm.
OCAD, and you go to SCAD.
Yes.
So I guess it's just the AD at the end, artistic design.
Yes.
Art and, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Funny. All right. Awesome. Let's see if we got any cool questions in here that we can ask. Not a question, just Oliver saying Billy Chapter 2 shall be fire. But I think I already highlighted that one.
You did. We hope so. Got to raise that money. It's a lot of money.
Or more saying, damn, that mic sounds crisp.
Oh, good.
About your mic.
I guess, or it could be your mic too. I don't know. You sound pretty crisp over there too, Eddie.
Well, look, I mean, again, audiophile stuff here, like geeking out here. We're pretty positive. Shure is better than Rode. We're pretty sure, right?
Pretty sure.
We're pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, it would depend on the microphone. I mean, Rode has a long lineup too, right? So it depends on the mic, but yeah.
Let's see here. All right. We got the home video junkie asking Dave, what are some of your favorite non-horror films?
Some of my favorite non-horror films. Well, I've talked about them on my own channel. I love the Shawshank Redemption. I think is one of the greatest movies ever made. The Green Mile, of course, obviously directed by Frank Darabont, who also directed The Green Mile.
Which is interesting. Not to cut you off, it's interesting to me that you have not checked out The Walking Dead, because Frank Darabont developed that for.
I know. Yeah. I got to get on that.
At least the first season and maybe half of season 2.
Yeah, I hear it sort of went off the rails after a while. So
to say the least.
Like a lot of shows do. I mean, those are two. I mean, obviously, when I go back to obviously I was born in 1979, so I'm an 80s kid, a 90s teenager, but an 80s kid. And I guess you're still a kid as a teenager too, but you know what I mean. And so I, whether it's like, The Goonies or Back to the Future or, Stand By Me or, I even like Howard the Duck. It's terrible, but I love it. And just, movies like that, classic 80s movies. like that, I think always sort of always entertain me, you know, nostalgia. I'm a big nostalgia person. So.
Okay, there you go. Home video junkie. Laren saying, I have checked out and am newly subbed to Mr. McRae's channel. Thanks to you too.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Well, welcome.
Mizzy saying, I've been subbed to Dave for a few years. He's a great dude. Yes, yes. You are.
Thanks, Mizzy. Appreciate that.
You're one of the great Torontonians. Is that a thing?
Toronto. That's that is what we are Torontonians. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Let's see here. Durant saying, we know that Dave loves Halloween and horror movies, but do we know Dave's favorite color?
I don't know if I really have one. I mean, I feel like I'm going to say the cliche thing, which is blue. You know, it's a very guy blue thing. But I think I wear a lot of black. You know, I know that's technically not a color. Well, it's all the colors, isn't it? Whereas white is it the other way around? I think white is the absence of color and black is all the colors. Is that it? I think that's correct.
Is that it?
Right?
Because I thought it was the other way around. I thought
maybe it is the other way around.
The absence, because
I think you're right.
Didn't that come from Rob Zombie's Halloween?
No. That's been a saying for years, or not a saying, but an observation, I guess I should say, for years. But no, I think you are right. I think black is the absence of color. Yes, of course, and white is all the colors. But I do wear a lot of black. I don't know what it is. I like, although I'm wearing blue right now, but I have black pants on. So I guess I'll say black and blue. You got blue light behind me. So there you go.
There you go. But want to say thank you for the amazing work you put in, Dave. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You've been on YouTube since 2018, right? Because you were gearing up for Halloween 2018. That's really when you kind of took off with your channel. Yeah,
in this format, the way you see me now, yes, it's been since 2017, actually. Well, I've had the channel since 2006. I was one of the first people that got a YouTube channel, but I never did anything with it. I mean, I did upload my little Halloween skit short kind of stuff, and I would upload it, a few things from time to time. And then I did put my face out there in and around when The Force Awakens came out in 2015, because I wanted to share my thoughts on it, and I was excited and all that. And then it dropped off again for about another year or two. And then in I think it was 2016 when Blumhouse got the rights for Halloween, 2017 when Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter came on board, so steam began to pick up. And I was looking for a way to express my thoughts. I didn't have any plan on building a channel or anything like that. I just needed an outlet to find people that shared my interest. And I didn't see anybody sort of talking about the things that I was really excited about in regards to, like the technical aspects of storytelling and filmmaking as it relates to like Halloween. There were, a lot of people talking about what they like about Halloween and, cool masks and cool scares and stuff. But I will, how I am on my channel, I get into the, about this and, the theater of the mind and, the psychological ramifications of the residual effects of it. I find that stuff fascinating, and maybe I could go overboard a little bit. But so I wanted to jump on, and that's what I was talking about. And then I guess I found an audience, and it started to grow and grow. And now it's become kind of this little cool hobby. So here I am.
Yeah. I mean, because I found you through him, and, when, we're just sitting next to each other and we're doing our own thing, and he'll watch his videos, and most of the time I'll tune him out, but right. Because I became a fan of you because of the way you speak, because you're so passionate about what you say, even if it is not even because I have a bias for horror, because I'm a big horror freak, but it's the way you talk is not how many people discuss, the deep in depths of everything and their interests. And, plus with somebody who has as good audio as you, it makes it for easier listen.
This is a perfect segue, because I forgot to play this when I was introducing you.
Oh, okay.
So do you mind if I play this?
No, go right ahead. Is it the clip of me getting out of the shower, or is that?
It's from actually, I think I forget the number of McRae Live, but it's one of your more recent ones. And for me, this is the perfect summation of if someone were to say, who is Dave McRae, I would pull this clip up. I would pull this clip up and I'd say, watch this. If you like it, keep watching. If you don't like it,
I think I might have an idea of what it is, but go ahead.
All right, so we're gonna pull it up here. You should be able to see it too if I have it queued up here properly. Can you see it?
Wait, I can now. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. So this is, I think, the perfect way to summarize Dave McRae. Here we go.
Okay. Hey, Google, what year was Deborah Hill born?
Deborah Hill was born on November 10th, 1950.
1950.
People also ask me, was Deborah Hill in Halloween? Want to hear the answer?
No, because I already know the answer. Fuck you, Google. Fuck you. I know something you already know. I know something you already know. Shut up, okay? I'm not in the mood right now, Google. No. No. Of course. Yeah. If you can handle that, then you could. It's a good point. If you can handle that and you find that even mildly amusing, you can probably watch me for a length of time.
Yeah, Dave. Look, I mean, I'm not trying to stroke your ego anymore, but it like when that happened, seriously, like it takes a lot to make me laugh. So
well, it's funny because and I get it. I understand it, but most people obviously know me as just Dave McRae, the YouTuber. I mean, that's how you know what I mean? And as a voice actor, I mean, I've been in the entertainment business for 22 years and as a voice actor, there's a certain anonymity that comes with that. You've probably heard my voice, but you wouldn't know my face. And so I actually like that, a lot. But it's been so the point I was trying to make is that I just bring myself of who I am, my personality. And I mean, I've been doing that. I mean, I'm not doing that because I'm on YouTube. I'm doing that because that's just me. And yes, I'm hamming it up, sure, because I know I have an audience that's watching, but I do that shit when I'm alone with, Bruce in the car, and we're driving, to get something to eat. I'll be like, we'll just be dumb, guys just being guys. Right. And so I've always been like that. I come from a very extroverted sort of, performing kind of extroverted family. And, so yeah, and I know I can be an acquired taste. I mean, I do know that there are people that have watched me that think I'm a condescending, pretentious douchebag. But I think I don't think there's anything I've said that has been outright been that way. I think people have, in my estimation, I think because I'm passionate and because I can be theatrical and I can be over the top. And, I have a strong personality that depending on who you are as a person, I may come across as this loud blowhard on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? When in reality, I'm being theatrical to have fun and make a point. And, Halloween 5 is dog shit. I go off like that, and people might go, look, God, it's just so loud. And you know what I mean? So I think that's, but I can't not be myself. I have to be myself, and people who get my shtick and understand what I'm doing will get it and follow me and totally be okay with it. And then there's the people that, take to Reddit and think I'm an asshole. So, it is what it is. It is what it is.
But yeah. So I forgot to play that, but there it is. Hopefully that made someone out there laugh.
I hope so too. I'm completely normal. I'm an actor. And so I bring that to YouTube.
I think you did something there that all of us want to do, but we might keep it into ourselves because when those Google assistants, keep rambling,
yeah,
it's just sort of like, why are you still talking? I don't.
Yeah, exactly. You answered the question. Now be quiet.
Yeah. Okay? Oh my God.
No, one last thing, not ego boost, yay. When it's like a calling card almost, like when I hear the dun 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 dun, and you're like, dancing to your own music.
Oh, she's talking about the intro music that you have.
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean? Hang on a second. This one. Hang on. Is it this one?
Oh. And then yeah. And we'll like repeat it.
One more time.
One more time. That's right. Well, because it's too short, so I got to play it like 5 times.
It's when it gets to like the 8th time that's when I'm on the floor.
I know. It's fun. Great. It's fun. You got to have fun. You know what I mean? You got to have fun.
It's great shit. Good shit.
I agree.
Horror and More just checked out Dave's filmography. Impressive.
Where on IMDb? Maybe on IMDb, maybe perhaps. Yeah. IMDb is a funny thing because most of my, as a voice actor, I'm doing a lot more animation now, which is great. I started doing that about 5 or 6 years ago, because for the vast majority of my career, I was in the commercial, promo, and trailer side. So any commercials I've done, or network promos, or radio and television commercials, or all that kind of stuff, movie trailers, they won't appear on IMDb because obviously that's not what IMDb is for. So but I do have some narration credits on there, and animation credits on there now, which is starting to build, which is great. So but there is a on my IMDb page, I think there is, might be a little outdated now, might be about 5 years old, but there is a voiceover reel on my IMDb page. So if you hit that reel, you'll see a bunch of work that I've done. So
yep.
Oh.
And Horror and More, because I'm sure you're into this, there's a good video of Dave doing the epic narrator voice. So go check that out. That's
the movie trailer voice. Yeah, that's yes, that's on YouTube as well. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Laren says, Dave, what's your go-to snack/junk food?
Oh, I'm going to tell you. First one you'll know, obviously, Doritos. Love Doritos. Big fan of Doritos. I mean, any chips, great. You know what I mean? Chips are chips. But I'm a big fan of Doritos, any kind of Doritos, doesn't matter. And here in Canada, we have, we also have, obviously, Cheetos up here as well. But we have something called, the brand name is Hawkins, like, the fictional town in Stranger Things. And it's Hawkins Cheesies. And they're like Cheetos, but they are much thicker, much cheesier, and much saltier. And man, are they good. Oh, they are so addictive. I'm telling you, I'm just like, oh, they're crunchy, and you get that cheesy. And it's like, oh man, like sometimes you just want that crunch. You just want that crunch, Hawkins Cheesies, man. Oh man, Hawkins Cheesies and Doritos. There you go.
There you go. Any particular flavor of Doritos, or just like anything Doritos?
Yeah, I'll take anything.
What are you looking it up?
Yeah,
She's looking up Hawkins.
You sold me.
Hawkins Cheesies. I don't think they sell them in the States, but you might be able to purchase them. Maybe you can get somebody to, or import them somehow. I'm not sure, but they're good. Thicker, cheesier, saltier.
Interesting. Yeah, we're in Savannah, Georgia. So
okay.
Hopefully we'll find them. Nerdy Film Girl, hello everyone. Can't stay too long. We'll absolutely watch the replay. Cheers to a great stream. Thank you. All right, we're gonna pull up another predetermined question here. This is similar to the other question that was asked by someone, but it's worded a little differently here.
Okay.
5 underrated films of any genre.
I've been talking about this on my channel. Underrated. The difference between, I admit that maybe it's semantics and I'm splitting hairs, but I do think there is an argument to be made that there's a difference between something that is underrated and something that is underappreciated. I think generally speaking, something that is underrated is something that the general consensus is that the movie's not very good, but you really like it. A movie that is underappreciated is a movie that is really good, but not enough people have seen it, but everybody who does see it thinks it's great.
Okay.
So yeah, so I would say, like, for example, Psycho 2, I think is underappreciated. Don't think it's underrated. Again, we might be splitting hairs here, right? With the semantics. But I think it's underappreciated, not necessarily underrated, because I think everybody who watches Psycho 2, generally speaking, really likes it. Like, wow, this is actually a pretty decent sequel. But underrated, 5 underrated films of any genre. Man, that's tough. Because now I got to think about a movie that, generally speaking, people don't really like.
Or maybe not 5, like, 1 or 2.
Maybe I can give you one. I'm saying 5, but that's only because I get really technical with it, right? I'm like, well, technically underrated, underappreciated, and it's just like, just answer the question, Dave. Underrated, a movie that is underrated of any genre. I would say that maybe well, you know what? I mean, this maybe this is a great segue as well. But it's just because maybe it's on the top of my mind, I'm going to say the original Black Christmas, I think, is underrated. And I think I can say underrated because because it is a film that a lot of people do love, but it's a film a lot of people don't like either because they think it's boring or it's too slow or it's very dated and things like that. And I can intellectualize and I can understand that, but I do think it's underrated. I think it's underappreciated and underrated. But the original Black Christmas would be one, I think, only because there's a lot of people that don't like it as well. And I should probably give you another one just so. Underrated. I'm gonna say. What's that?
Under pressure.
Yeah. It feels like that. Do 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 do. Can I phone a friend? Underrated. Like Christmas. Oh, you know what? I'll say A Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Oh, good one. Yeah.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And again, see, that's a movie that I think it's coming around. I think because of the internet, I think more and more people are revisiting it and are appreciating it. And listen, I was 6 years old when that movie came out. I was an OG. I'm not jumping on any bandwagons well after the fact in 2023. I loved that movie. I didn't understand the homosexual undertones or anything like that, at 6 years old, but I certainly loved Freddy, the opening dream sequence, the way he looked. He was dark and scary and and I love that movie. I've always, they play loose and fast with the the dream rules that they may have established in the first installment, but I think it's underrated. I think that's underrated, and I think you can say that because, again, maybe not so much now, but certainly at one time everybody hated that movie. Mm-hmm. And it was very far and few between that you saw somebody come and defend it. So that's underrated, in my opinion. Yeah.
So we watched this one last night because it was the 10th anniversary.
Yes.
The 10th anniversary of it. And I'm curious because I know your thoughts on the director. And I'm curious if you've seen this one because it surprised the crap out of me that it was totally not what he is typically known for.
Right.
It's Rob Zombie's The Lords of Salem.
I have not seen it.
It is not, right? It's
not white trash.
It is not white trash.
Okay. Well, you had me at not white trash. So I will definitely have to check that out. Okay.
He posted about it on his social media. Happy 10th anniversary to The Lords of Salem. I looked at her. I was like, I guess we know what we're watching tonight because why not? It's the 10th anniversary.
That's right.
And I turned to her. So to me, that's underrated. The Lords of Salem is underrated. I think it's a decent movie, and I think it's Zombie doing his best Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Wow. Okay.
That's what
Rob Zombie and The Shining in the same sentence just feels completely strange. But okay. What's it called again? Lords of Salem?
The Lords of Salem, yes.
Unfortunately,
Sherry Moon is the main person.
Well, I mean, she's in everything he does.
So
okay, but not white trash. Okay, I'll make sure to check it out. I'll watch a trailer and see what it's like.
Yeah, and it deals with like a radio DJ. So she's doing stuff like this with microphones and she's hosting a show and everything. It's really not what I was expecting at all. So
yeah, people like on Letterboxd like praise it for like its artistry and imagery because it deals with like a lot of very dark Satanist sort of, Rob Zombie.
Right. Yes, of course.
But like they're talking about it in a good way.
And they were saying that the only reason no one's talking about it is because the
A24
logo's not on it.
No.
Well, it feels like an A24 movie kind of.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, thanks for the recommendation. I will definitely check it out.
Yeah. And I'm curious if anyone in the chat has seen The Lords of Salem or any of the ones, Dave. I mean, obviously Black Christmas. That's like you said, that's heavy on your head right now. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious. Not a part of the questions, but I just thought it'd been my old noggin here because because you love Black Christmas so much, and you know, when you work with something that you're so passionate about, like with you making your films, do you feel yourself ever hating it because of you having to work with it?
Oh,
It's
like
almost
the original Black Christmas?
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Y-
because
y-
I'm an artist, I draw so much. Sometimes I hate drawing, like sort of like that deal. Do you see
You mean
yourself ever doing that?
just in filmmaking in general,
But
or just
yes,
but
like
yeah, as it pertains to Black Christmas, you mean? Like, do I think, oh God, I just hate this. I want to get this over with.
like if you were to sit down and like watch Black Christmas, then do you think of like the stress that comes with working in the films
Oh.
and like having a negative connotation because of you working with it so much?
I don't think so. And I think part of that is because I first of all, you know, obviously you love what you do.
Right.
And when you love what you do, it's never work. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, but you love doing it. And I think that because the experience on chapter 1 was so good, it was such a wonderful experience. We were so prepared and everybody was so great, that I think back on that film and watch it with very fond memories, and the original film from 1974. And it just makes me even more excited to be able to have an opportunity, hopefully, fingers crossed, to be able to complete our vision and the story. So I don't think so, at least not yet. I mean, it may come down the line, but not yet. I do understand what you're saying, though. I do. I think that can happen to certain people. Oh God, the last thing I want to see is another Christmas tree. You know what I mean? Like I totally get it, but no, thankfully that hasn't happened yet.
Cool.
That keeps me in high spirits because that's like my biggest fear. Like
Mm,
personally, I like my all-time director is Tim Burton. Like that's who I
Mm.
aspire to be.
yeah.
So it's like if down the line, I'm working and I'm using like him as like a muse, an inspiration, like his style, and I'm working with it so much. Part of me can see it like, God, if I see another Tim Burton movie ever again, I'm gonna shoot myself. Like
Right. Well,
something like that.
sometimes you just need a break.
Yeah.
You know, you need
right.
to kind of just decompress, take a break, go away, don't work on it for a while, you know, just go be you. I mean it is part of you, but go be that other side of you that's not that for, you know, maybe a week or two or something like that, and then come back to it. So yeah, but I get it. I do get it.
I think I've even heard you comment on like, because that can kind of even tie into YouTube, like doing YouTube, like how some people post every freaking day.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
it's burnout. I mean, you can absolutely experience that. I mean,
Yeah.
my hat goes off to, you know, somebody like Cody Leach or even, you know, Lee McCoy, or even Mike, you know, and Jay, you know, over at Wham. I mean, they see, I don't have, I mean, I have a partner. I have a girlfriend, but we don't have any kids. So we don't have a, you know, a family, you know, anything like that. These guys do, you know, and so the amount of work they put into it, and the videos, and dealing with family and young kids, you know, it's not like they're teenagers and out of the house. I mean, you know, they're young kids. So Barry too, from Wolfman's Got Nards. I mean, he's got 2 young boys, I think, and a wife, and a full job, 9 to 5. I mean, I'm very thankful that my job allows me to work from home. So I'm here, you know, whereas they're not. Well, I think Cody's at home now. I think he's full-time YouTube. So yeah, I mean, my hat goes off to, I mean, the stress and the you know, the amount of work that goes into it, and juggling a family is impressive.
Yep.
Crazy.
Oliver's commenting follow up here. I am absolutely everywhere. I'm certainly dedicated to a lot of artists.
It's true.
Love you, Oliver. Yeah. Oliver's but I see him all the time in your chats. So.
Yeah, Oliver's great. His support is infectious, and we're so excited that he'll be supporting the campaign again.
Yep. This is a good question. Movie Collector, hello. What's up, guys? I'm passionate about films. I like to get into the mind of the director when I see the commentary, the way they work. Dave, do you have a favorite director?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite filmmaker, it might sound a little cliche, but my favorite filmmaker is Steven Spielberg. Just because I think he's the greatest filmmaker of all time. I'm not saying that he's, again, that can be a very subjective thing, but I always say, well, what's the measuring stick, right? Like, why would I say that? Because there's a lot of great filmmakers who could be perceived as the greatest of all time. And I look at Spielberg as he's my favorite because I grew up as a young boy through that Stranger Things era, so, the riding the bikes and the synth music and all that. I mean, even though I was a few years younger than what the kids are in the movie, in the show, I had older siblings that were their age. So I remember the 80s fairly well, like I was 13 in 1985 or something, even though I was like, 6 or 7. So I have a very fondness, very fondness for that decade. And Spielberg changed cinema. He came up through that new Hollywood, as they called it, and obviously Jaws being the first summer blockbuster, and then Lucas, of course, and all that, and it's not just the movies he's directed, it's the movies he's produced. He changed from a pop culture standpoint. I mean, we can point to Hitchcock, we can point to Kubrick, we can point to a lot of filmmakers that are much more film cinephiles and more of the sophisticated highbrow kind of stuff. But in terms of pop culture and changing the way we consume entertainment and the way movies were made and marketed, certainly you have to put Lucas in there as well. Of course, it was what with what he did with Star Wars. But Spielberg is a synonym for Hollywood, and again, it's not just the films he directed, it's the films he's produced, like Poltergeist and Gremlins and the Back to the Future trilogy and Who Framed Roger Rabbit and The Goonies. And these are all films he didn't direct, and then you look at the films he directed, and so it was, he's from a pop culture impact, changing the face of entertainment, and how in that very important change that Hollywood was going through in that basically the 1970s, that new wave of young filmmakers, your Scorseses, your Lucases, your Coppolas, were coming up. He was the one that really just changed it out, at all. And so much so that one of the greatest television shows on television right now is all a tip of the hat to him. It's Stranger Things. It's Spielberg. I mean, that's what that show is, and now you got a little bit of Stephen King and John Carpenter in there as well. But that story, that kids on the bikes riding around, getting an adventure, it's Spielberg, you know what I mean? And so that's why I think he's the greatest in that regard. So that's why he's my favorite.
Yeah. I definitely think he's the kind of guy where it's like, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know your directors or whatnot, and you ask somebody what their favorite movie of all time is, odds are there are people who are talking about their favorite 90s movies, and lo and behold, Steven Spielberg was among the greatest. So it's even if you don't know the name, what he does, his artistry.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, the name Spielberg, is a synonym for Hollywood. You hear Spielberg, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? I mean, it's, and it's funny. I could walk out onto the street to the average person and say, there are certain, say Nolan. Well, you guys being film buffs probably immediately think Christopher Nolan, but the average person on the street may not, right? They might go, my friend Nolan? Bob Nolan? Oh, I just talked to him last week. You know what I'm saying? Because Nolan doesn't have, but if I go up to the average person on the street and just say Spielberg, they're going to know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's that cachet and that impact, that legendary status that is very few people reach. It's like saying Elvis. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. But it is weird to think that there was a time, I don't know he was 20-ish when he made Duel. So there was a time there in those early teen years where Spielberg had nothing to do with
nothing.
The name Spielberg, it meant nothing.
Nothing. Meant absolutely nothing.
That's so
Bob
crazy
Spielberg? No, yeah.
Yeah.
It meant nothing. It was, I mean, obviously he directed some television in the late 60s. He worked obviously with Joan Crawford, which was amazing. He directed, I think, an episode of Columbo. Then he did the TV movie Duel, which is fantastic. And then Sugarland Express, and he was still nobody. He was still kind of up and coming, but not, certainly wasn't a household name. And then Jaws came, and the rest is history.
Would you say Duel is underrated or underappreciated or neither?
I would say it's both. I think it's a situation that's both. I think because I think there might be people that have seen it that don't like it, but I think it's underrated, and I do think it's underappreciated. I think it's a fantastic movie.
It's
for
phenomenal.
sure.
Yeah. It's, I mean, just some of the shots in there, like when it's that one tracking shot where it starts with the car and then it goes in front of the truck and like it pans up. Oh my God.
It's great.
Amazing. Gavin, one of our moderators, says you're a big fan of planes, trains, and automobiles, Dave. No?
I am. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. I love that movie. Love it. Love it. Miss John Candy so much.
I think movie collectors being a little facetious here, but Dave, did you like Halloween Ends?
Loved it. Thought it was fantastic. Loved it. No, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, though. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah.
You don't think it's the best in the franchise? Come on now.
No.
All right.
No.
I think that's a perfect segue because this is the next question up here. Would you rather portray Freddy Krueger officially or direct an official installment of the Halloween franchise?
I think at this present time, and this could change obviously, but I think I would rather play Freddy Krueger officially. I think Halloween, I mean, it would have to be an incredibly attractive offer when it came to Halloween. The question is an official installment of the Halloween franchise. Well, what is it, right? Is it a reboot? Is it a remake? Is it a continuation of David Gordon Green's trilogy? Do I have to work with Corey Cunningham? Do I have to, I mean, what's the, what is it, right? So right now, I think I would rather play Freddy Krueger. I just came from playing Freddy Krueger.
I know.
And so
I wanted to play the trailer.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that for sure. And so I at this moment in time, I would rather play Freddy Krueger officially. And I am available. I'm just saying.
You're just saying. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let us play the official trailer. In case anyone has not seen it, this is from the Horror Show channel.
Yes. Shout out to Cecil Laird of the Horror Show.
Yep. So go check them out, subscribe, because they are, like you said, you've been getting some confusion from people that think that you're the creator, I guess, of the movie, but it is the Horror Show channel.
It is, yeah. Some people, and it's not to their fault, obviously, and I understand that. Yeah, this is not a movie that I mean, I've been very thankful as a filmmaker that Cecil and his team have, let me in and on certain things that the average actor wouldn't be a part of. So I really appreciate being part of the creative sort of process in terms of what's happening with the movie in post-production. However, having said that, I am not a producer on the movie. I am only an actor. It's not my movie. I didn't write it. I didn't direct it. It's not like It's Me, Billy, where I know more, I have more information about the production on that, because obviously that's my production that I'm spearheading with Bruce. This, I'm just an actor on. So
cool. And have you seen this?
I have not actually.
Have you seen New Nightmare?
That one, no.
From 94, right?
It was 1994. So Wes Craven's New Nightmare it's very much, it's sort of the precursor to Scream in some ways, because
it's very meta.
It's very meta. Heather Langenkamp is playing a fictional version of herself. So she's playing Heather Langenkamp in the movie, but she's playing, a fictionalized version of herself. Robert Englund, who of course is famous for Freddy Krueger, is playing Robert Englund in the movie. Wes Craven is playing Wes Craven in the movie. And it's all about how there's this demon that has broken through the fabric of into our world, who is taking on the persona of Freddy Krueger. So he kind of is becoming Freddy Krueger. And the only way to stop him is to sort of make another movie or something. I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version of that. You have to watch it, but it's cool. I mean, I think it was ahead of its time. I remember I was 15 in 1994. I remember kind of thinking, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Now I love it. I mean, I really do appreciate what he was trying to do. And so the movie starred also Miko Hughes, who reprises his role in this fan film. Miko Hughes, famous for being Gage, the baby in Pet Sematary, and the The little boy in Kindergarten Cop who said, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. I think he was on a number of episodes of Full House as well.
Yes,
and
yes, he was. Yeah.
he was the young autistic child in Mercury Rising with Bruce Willis, and played Tom Hanks's son in Apollo 13. So he's, he was one of those young Hollywood child stars that was of note back in the 90s. And he reprises his role. And of course, he was in New Nightmare in 1994. And he reprises his role in this fan film as Dylan Porter. So that's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
All righty. Here we go. We'll play it. And the audio should be good. So just let me know.
I can hear it.
Yeah, that's the story. Please try to get some sleep.
Rex keeps him down there. The mean old man with the claws.
Dylan.
Sorry, Doc. What was that?
Dylan, what's really bothering you?
Had a nightmare last night.
Tell me about it.
2 people died this time.
What do you mean 2 people died? How?
One shot himself and the other slit her own throat.
Why do you think they did that?
I don't know. Why does anything happen in a dream?
I just want to be sure that these dreams you're having aren't symptomatic of a resurgence of your childhood trauma.
They're not.
Are you getting your rest?
It's been manageable, Doc. I think I have it under control.
There it is. Yep.
Wow.
So let me bring us back here and talk to us a little bit about, because that's that's the most that we've seen of the portrayal so far in terms of getting a audio, kind of understanding what you're doing with your voice, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So I'm playing Freddy Krueger. That's me. I am Freddy Krueger in Dylan's New Nightmare. And shout out to Nora Hewitt, who was the special effects makeup artist on the film. She was also season 9 winner of the show Face Off. I don't think Face Off is on anymore, but it was a show that was a special effects, a contestant show where, had a bunch of people on. She won season 9. She's worked on Ghostbusters Afterlife and but she's fantastic. I love Nora. She's great. So she did the cast of my head in 2019. The reason, we should have shot this movie 3 years ago, but because of the pandemic and I'm in Canada and I had to go to the States and the borders were closed and all that kind of stuff, obviously there was a big delay. And so, but I had my head cast because what they wanted to do was not put a mask on me. They wanted to do it old school 80s style Robert Englund, where I'm in the makeup chair for, 4.5, 5 hours, and they are applying foam prosthetic latex onto my face in 7 or 8 pieces, and then of course painting it and all that kind of stuff, and that's what they did. So it was full on Robert Englund style. So that's not a mask, that's latex makeup, and it's great because then it gives you the range of motion. You know what I mean? There's a promotional image that was released in November of me where I'm going, I'm doing that, and if I had now there are silicone Freddy masks that are fantastic. They're amazing. But they don't quite give you the range, that kind of range, as if it's just my face. It's still kind of tight. It's still kind of a mask. So that's why it was very important for the authenticity and the credibility. If we're going to do it, we're going to go all the way. And that's what that was. In terms of the voice, my job, obviously there's, lots of people online, and I understand it. I do. People feel that nobody could ever play Freddy, but Robert Englund. I get that. You get that with nobody could ever be the Joker, but Heath Ledger. Nobody could ever be Indiana Jones, but I get all that. Nobody could ever be James Bond, but Sean Connery, right? It's nothing new. right? When you are emotionally attached to somebody, you grew up with that person, they created the character, they built the character, they are most synonymous with the character. They are in the pop culture zeitgeist. It's very difficult to imagine somebody else in that role. Totally get it, totally understand it. And of course, Elm Street, the remake in 2010 with Jackie Earle Haley, no offense to Jackie Earle Haley, he was the least of the film's problems, but obviously a much different portrayal. It didn't help with, thinking that somebody else could do it. Robert's 75 now, he'll be 76. There's always a possibility that Hollywood could try and get him back to do it. I do think they need to go younger. And I'm not just saying that because I would love the role. I'm saying that because I just think they need to go younger. He thinks that too. But my job was not to go in and do a Robert Englund impression. I know I quite look like him, but that's because of the mold, and the makeup. My job was to go in and bring the essence of the Freddy character to life, so that when you look at me and you hear me, now listen, if you watch me and you hear me and you think, holy shit, Robert Englund, well, that's great. That's a bonus, right? But that's not my job. My job is to go in and not convince you it's Robert. My job is to go in and convince you to the best of my abilities that it's Freddy Krueger. And if you can walk away going, well, it's not Robert, but it's definitely Freddy, well, then I've done my job. Because if I'm on set and I'm thinking, is that Robert enough? Was that Robert enough? Was that Robert enough? Oh, I don't know if that was Robert enough. Then I'm going to get in my own head, and it's just going to be a total disaster. So, but I know the character so well, having, watched the movie since I was a boy, and I have a very similar frame. I mean, I think Robert's a bit broader than me, even back in the 80s, but I'm 5'8", about 152, 153 pounds. So I have sort of that more svelter. I think my legs might be a bit stockier than Robert's, but I have that sort of, older school Freddy look, which obviously helps when everything looks so good. There's behind the scenes photos I'd love to show if I could, but I can't release them until after the movie comes out, that you would look at and go, it just looks like Robert Englund. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because it's not just the makeup, it's just, it's the right body shape, the right stance, the right everything, right? So it freaks me out too, when I look at it. So the voice was same thing. The voice you hear in that trailer is me, even the laugh, the laugh that you hear, everything Freddy is me. It is pitched down slightly. And I emphasize that slightly because what you hear in there is pretty much what I was doing on set. Now, obviously in post-production, they've added, some reverb to it and, to make it, to fill it out, obviously, which is what they do in any Freddy film. But the pitch is pretty much me. It's pitched a little bit lower, just a little bit, like a smidgy, just a little bit, just to kind of see how that would sound. But it's pretty on point to what I was doing on set, which I'm very thankful for too, because that means then, I feel it feels more authentic, in that regard. So yeah, now whether people will like the movie or like my portrayal, who knows? But what you see there is what you get in the film.
Was that is that directly from the film what we saw, or was that specifically a trailer? Like let's film some stuff for the trailer.
No, that is from the film. That is from the film. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's not unprecedented, right? Where they'll just do like specific stuff for just the trailer. For sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did that when we shot It's Me, Billy, Chapter 1. There's obviously the scene where our actresses, they enter the house and Sam goes off into the living room, and Shelby and Malika, who play Emma and Justine, they go up the stairs, and there's that great jib shot of, we have of them going up the stairs and the camera's following them up the stairs. Well, we also did a take where there were no actors on the stairs, and we just had the camera go up the stairs because I knew I was going to use it for a trailer. And I did. That shot is in the official trailer. It's just a shot of, the camera going up the stairs, you know what I mean? So yeah, that does happen, can happen if there's time, right? If time allows. Absolutely. But everything you saw in that, there might be maybe one shot that may not end up in the film. I'm not sure, but definitely, yeah, it's all part of the movie.
Okay. Yeah, no,
certainly my Boo? Yeah, that's in the film.
My boo.
Yeah, my boo. That's in the film.
Your boo thing.
Yep.
Let's see here. Let's see. This is a good question. Very specific. Everyone's favorite film from 1979. I mean, yeah, Alien, duh. But shout out to Time After Time, starring Malcolm McDowell.
It's a good one. That's a good one. The Amityville Horror, as well, I think is a good one. The original Amityville Horror with Margot Kidder and no, I can't get them mixed up. Who's the James and Josh? James Brolin, I think, is his father, right? Josh Brolin is the son.
Yeah. 1979. For some reason, I can't think of movies from 1979.
The original When a Stranger Calls, I believe, is 1979.
Funny enough, I'm a much bigger fan of the remake.
I am too.
Yeah.
2006. Yeah.
Yep.
Great film.
Yeah. Because I saw that one first, and then going to the original. Really, the only part of that remake that the original has is the first like 20 minutes.
That's it. That's it.
I was
Yeah, that's right.
Where's this movie going?
I did a short film 10, 11, it's got to be about 12 years ago now. It's online. If you just YouTube Dave McRAE, The Intruder, it will pop up. It's about a 30-minute. Is it 30 minutes? Might be something around there. It's a film I shot. I wrote it, directed it, shot it as well on I think we were using mini DV tape. So it was an HD, I think it was HD, but it was mini DV tape, and it's based on the first 20 minutes of When a Stranger Calls. So it's called The Intruder. It's just about this girl who's house sitting for the weekend. She shows up at this big home. I guess I must love big homes. I don't know what is named big homes, but they're ripe for horror movies, right? And she shows up at a home and she's house sitting for the weekend, and then she receives strange phone calls. Very similar to Billy. I don't know what's going on. I mean, obviously it's not as polished and as professional as It's Me, Billy, because we were, I mean, I actually think it looks really good for, you can tell that whoever made it knew what they were doing. I'll say that in terms of the angles and the editing and, the post-production and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of the production value, I mean, it doesn't hold a candle to what we did with Billy, of course, but it's fun to look back on. So, yeah.
Oliver saying, when you were doing Dylan's New Nightmare, Dave, how many takes did you do to perfect what everyone wanted?
Not many. I mean, Cecil was great in allowing me to sort of play. If there was anything I did that, I mean, there was a couple of times when Cecil and Miko too would come over and kind of, remind me of something, or maybe if I was just, maybe if I was a little sort of rusty because I was, I had a day off and I'm coming back in and I'm getting kind of, they would kind of, throw some notes my way and whatever. And then we're like, oh yeah. That's good. And then all of a sudden I'm off to the races. Right. So, there was a few times that kind of thing happened, but in terms of like multiple takes, like, 200 take, no, not at all. It was just, I would say for me, when I'm on camera, I would say maybe on average, I don't know, between 5 and 6 takes. I'm not even going to say average. I'm going to say that maybe the most I ever did was 5 or 6 takes, but not necessarily because I did something they didn't like. It was just because they wanted extra coverage or they wanted to just do it again for safety, right? When you get the shot that you want and the performance you want, you always do one for safety. So you have one, extra as well. So things like that, but it was pretty smooth.
Cool. Movie collector. Dave, I always wanted to be a voice actor. Is it as easy as it looks?
Voice actor for movie trailers. Is it as easy as it looks? It's not. Voiceover, one of the biggest misconceptions about voiceover is that A, that it's easy, and B, that it has everything to do with the sound of your voice. And that's not true, funny enough. Having a nice voice or a soothing voice or a sexy voice or, a big deep voice, whatever. I mean, if you have a nice voice to listen to, I mean, that can always help, but that doesn't mean you're going to be successful at voiceover. It depends on what your goals are, right? If you just want to do it as a hobby and just, put yourself online with a couple of demos and make a few bucks a year, whatever, well, then that's great. Then you've met your goal and you're happy. To pursue it professionally as a job and to actually, work at the highest levels within the industry, It's not easy, and it really doesn't have anything to do with the sound of your voice, and it has everything to do with your performing and acting abilities. How good of an actor are you? It's voice acting. Now, where you will see the most acting in voice acting, obviously, is in the animation side of things, because you are creating and building characters. It's usually Bob Bergen, who's the voice of Porky Pig, who I've met a couple of times, said, not to me, he said it just in general, that, find the character and then the voice will follow. It's not just about doing funny voices. I mean, funny voices is great, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be successful at voiceover. It really is about character and acting. Even when you're doing commercials, promos, movie trailers, it really is about understanding those nuances of performance and character, to really make it sound authentic. There's a big difference between hearing a movie trailer voice that sounds like somebody who's trying to do a movie trailer voice and hearing the movie trailer voice. You know what I mean? So, and that comes down to nuances in performance. Yeah. So no, it's not easy.
Yeah, movie collector, it's not easy.
No.
All right. 180ing from that. Feel free to read it as it pops up. Boom, right there.
Your biggest fear in life.
I know. Yeah, we're going from
Great
movies
question.
to fears in life.
My
We're going
biggest
from
fear in life.
Villains to nightmare. To fears, huh?
There you go. There you go. Nightmare. My biggest fear in life. I don't know. I think it's just always, I think it changes as you get older. I think when you're in your teens or your 20s, your biggest fear is different from what your biggest fear is in your 40s. And I'm sure when I'm in my 60s, hopefully I can make it, it'll be different. Maybe it'll be dying because, I have less runway ahead of me. I don't know.
Are you scared of death? Are you scared of dying?
Am I scared of dying? I think, you know what? I think we're all scared of dying to some degree, even subconsciously. And I don't think it's necessarily that, and what I mean by scared is I mean that I think we would all love to be able to, at the end, look back and not have those regrets. And I think that's what it's about. I think we can all, look, nobody wants to die, right? Nobody wants to leave the party. Nobody wants, well, I guess I gotta go. You know what I mean? See you later. Nobody wants to leave. It's a great party. Yeah, it can be a shitty party too, but nobody wants to leave. And so I think when the time has come, it can depend on how old you are, obviously. If you get sick very young, that's awful. I mean, these poor kids that are in these cancer wards and they're like, 10 years old. It's like, fuck, they didn't even get a shot. You know what I mean? It seems so unfair, and then you look at people that are 95 and they're still kicking, so I say that I think we're all afraid in the sense of that, we all hope that when we get to that time that we don't look, we look back and say, and not have any big regrets. I mean, there's always be little things. I should have said that, or I should have done that, but big regrets, gone after that dream or made that phone call that might've changed your life or, whatever. I think that is what I mean by sort of fear, in terms of death. And maybe there's people out there that don't care, but I think that would be my fear of death, is that I hope when the time comes that I don't have any massive regrets.
So it's not the other big one where it's what the heck is after, like what comes next.
Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, we don't know. Obviously, there are a lot of religions of the world that say they know, but obviously nobody actually does. There's no physical evidence. So I do believe that there is enough circumstantial evidence to warrant, that it's interesting to talk about, that where does the seat of consciousness lie? How long does our awareness continue after death? It's interesting. I think that's an interesting sort of topic. And I hope it does. I mean, obviously our bodies do die. So it's not like we die and then we wake up on a cloud and we can see our hands and we're walking around. I mean, that depiction of heaven, I think is false, if I do say, just because we don't have a physical body. But where does the seat of consciousness lie, and what is heaven? And everybody's heaven is different depending on, your religion. And so nobody knows really what happens, or this could be it. Maybe this is it, or maybe we're reincarnated. You know, I mean, who knows? I don't know. I mean, so that's why it's so important to say what you mean, do what you want to do, because we don't know. You can't take, I'll get it on the next pass. We don't know. We don't know. Right. So we got to go after it now. So
Now, because I love going and we did this, everybody, seriously, it's one of my favorite episodes, not because he's on right now, but of the podcast, which is linked down below. When this ends, if you need some more Dave McRAE in your life, go listen to it on Spotify, because we go on, we start talking about movies and then we start doing this. We go this way. So speaking of reincarnation, would you rather be reincarnated as yourself? Like that's how the reincarnation works, or as somebody totally different every time?
You know what? I think I'm going to add another. I don't think that's. I don't know if that's the question. I think. I mean, I understand it, of course, but I think it would depend. You know, it's like it kind of is the cousin of the question: do you want to live forever? And then my next question is, well, what's the quality of life? And does everybody I love get to live forever? All my friends and my family? Because if they don't, and I'm just confined to a bed, then no, I don't want to live forever. One of the hardest things about growing old is that not everybody grows old with you, right? And you do lose people and you do lose friends. Not everybody dies at the same time. I mean, if we all could agree to die at 96, you know, all right, well, we're gonna, you know what I mean? Well, that's that, you know what I mean? But that doesn't happen. And so, you know, I think the question is, would I rather come back as myself? Well, am I aware that it's myself? Am I aware that I'm Dave McRAE again? And if I am, are my friends and family back as that, you know, as their selves too? Because coming back as myself is almost like living forever. Well, if they don't come back as themselves, then I'll be very if I have the thing about reincarnation, if it is true, of course, is yes, of course, we hear all the stories about these kids and they have these dreams and they suddenly know about these little things and all, and that's all great. And that's really cool. Maybe there is something to that. But I think if reincarnation is real, let's play that game for a second. One of the benefits I think that reincarnation has is that you don't know. And that is sad. It's sad because we have awareness of it right now. But when you come back and you are somebody different, maybe I come back as a woman, maybe I come back as a man, you know, whatever. I have no conscious awareness that I was anybody else. Right. Yeah. So I don't know that I'm missing anybody. I don't know. You know what I mean? Whereas to come back and know that, that's just sad. It'd be a great story for a film, right? Like it's sad. It's tragic. It's tragic in a lot of ways.
A little Groundhog Day-ish.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But to be that to you again, but you're not with your friends and family it's I think the benefit of not knowing that again, you may have dreams or whatever, but is that you get to live again, hopefully in a just as positive. I mean, hopefully I'm not born in some, you know, awful situation in the middle of some hellhole Rob Zombie kind of movie family. Right. I mean, sometimes we can't pick our families, but yeah, I think that's sort of so I would say, no, I don't think I would like to come back as myself unless everybody I love who dies comes back as themselves. Right. You know what I mean?
There we go. Now, because we sidelined there, so death is not your biggest fear in life? Because I think I cut you off.
I don't know if death is my biggest fear in life. It's inevitable. I would say that just not putting my best foot forward in whatever it is I want to do. It sounds so lame, but I don't have a lot of, I can say heights, I guess, but I'm not really afraid of heights. I'm just afraid of dying, falling off. But so I'd say no, just kind of, I don't know, just not always going after what you want. Maybe it sounds kind of lame, but yeah.
No, because that's honestly like one of mine too. Cause I'm in my early 20s, so I have like a lot of my life like ahead, assuming that I die old. Who knows?
You will. I can see it now. 98.
We got a winner.
But then it goes, man, if I'm 98, am I like you said earlier, am I bedridden? Because then why would I even want to be here?
It's not about living forever or living to 98. It's about what's the quality of life. That's what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I'm 98 and I'm like Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, then sure. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. If I'm 9, well, look at Dick Van Dyke. He's like 96 right now, and he's fucking still bopping around doing,
Yes.
I mean, okay, great. But there are some men who are in their 60s who are like, yes, hello, and it's like, what? It's like, John, you're 65. What happened? You know what I mean? Like, so who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was
Yeah,
actually
no, I
just
agree.
watching I was watching a panel of horror icons that they had assembled this past March at Steel City Con, I think is what it was called. And it was Nick Castle, Tom Atkins, and
John Carpenter.
no, it was some Richard something from The Thing. Do you know what I'm talking about? Richard something.
I do know who you're talking about. I forget his last name though.
But they had both those three guys on, and every question that was asked to Tom Atkins, the Richard guy had to lean over and say it to him because he couldn't hear it.
Couldn't hear. Yeah. Well, Tom Atkins he's got to be closing in on 90.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I was like, that's crazy. Because like
Yeah.
those are loud microphones, those are loud speakers.
Yeah.
You can't hear it. You can't hear it.
But he's still doing pretty well for his age. I mean,
Yeah, like his answers were well formed and articulated very nicely. But
yeah. It's
Sorry,
crazy.
I cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But to 180 from there, we just recently did a Mount Rushmore live stream. And so this is your Mount Rushmore of filmmakers. So I think I know George Washington is Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, yes. So Spielberg is definitely up there. I would say that Kubrick is definitely up there. I would say probably Hitchcock.
Okay.
And then maybe it's always that fourth one.
Always that Lincoln, that damn Lincoln.
It's always that fourth one. I mean, I could say maybe Scorsese, but it feels like a cop out. But I mean, he's one of the greats, so I'll say Scorsese. Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about that stream is we had a full panel of guests. So I think we had a total of either 9 or 10 people. And so we had, that's like 4 each times 9. Not a single person named a female director.
Well, you know what? It's funny. I mean, I could have said Penny Marshall, or something like that. But it's funny because, there aren't enough female directors that have hit the level of legendary status that is so easy to be able to just naturally, recall. Right. And that's and I hope that changes. I really do. But I mean, I certainly wouldn't put Patty Jenkins on a Mount Rushmore, right? You know what I'm saying? And Penny Marshall, I think you might. I mean, she's had some pretty. I mean, obviously, the director of Big, and Big was, I think, the first comedy to ever break $100 million at the box office. Obviously, she's famous for Laverne and Shirley, and I forget which one she was, Laverne or Shirley. But anyway, she's dead now. She just died not too long ago. But
sort of iconic looking too, with like the way her glasses were always positioned.
That's right. That's right. But it's true, right? I mean, and you could put, James Cameron on there, which I'm sure you would, because he's one of your favorite directors. And there's definitely an argument to be made for that. And I hope that we continue to have more female directors, and there's a lot of them that are. But when we're talking about Mount Rushmore, right? We're naturally defaulting to an era or a time where it wasn't commonplace. And, when you talk about like legendary changing the face of cinema, unfortunately, there's been more male directors that have done that. So the natural recall will, is often, it's not and I'm not saying that you are saying that, but for anybody watching after the fact, it's not a sexist thing or anything like that. It's just it's what your mind naturally goes to because of sort of, the status for which we're talking about. But I hope that changes, because there's a lot of talented female directors out there that could absolutely achieve that status.
Yeah. I mean, I think before we went live, I was like, all right, because like that was my main thing. I was like, I am really curious if we're gonna get somebody that puts Catherine Bigelow on there, or I did say Patty Jenkins, but kind of makes sense why she wouldn't be on there. But
But it's like when you phrase it, your now you're saying so obviously it's just my opinion. But when you say Mount Rushmore, we're talking about the best of all time.
Yeah.
And I don't think Patty Jenkins or Catherine Bigelow would be on the best of all time directors. Right. So that's why it doesn't, I hope that changes, maybe for them or for somebody else. But yeah, we naturally default to an era where, you know, and maybe, you know, again, you ask that question 20 years from now, and there may be a very different answer.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So yeah, for sure. I hope that changes for sure. Because there's a lot of
100%.
talented female directors out there.
Oh yeah. Yep. And spoiler, Cameron was my George Washington.
I know.
Fucking James Cameron, man. James
Impossible. Impossible. James Cameron's great. Loved Avatar: The Way of Water. Thought it was fantastic.
Yep. I do think I prefer the original Avatar. That's just me. Do you also prefer the original?
I got to watch Avatar: The Way of Water again. I've only seen it once.
Okay.
I think for me, obviously the wow factor was not the same as the original Avatar. But that is because a lot has changed in that time, and the leap, it's like going from, now don't get me wrong. I mean, the animation is smoother and better, and obviously it looks amazing, but I equate it sort of like, you know, watching the first Avatar in 2009 was like going from a BlackBerry to, you know, a flip phone to an iPhone. You know, it was just like, oh, like the degree of separation, you know, it was out of this world. The gap is not quite as big between the first Avatar and the second Avatar. Yeah. So you're still wowed, right? But it's like going from iPhone to iPhone now, right? You know what I mean? Where now you go, oh yeah, I definitely noticed the difference. It's definitely faster. It's definitely better. I'm just like, wow, this is good. I'm really happy I purchased this. I waited 3 years, so there was enough of a gap. I do notice the improvements, but you're not like, whoa, like you were when you went from the flip phone to the iPhone. You know what I mean? Where you were just in your room for like weeks going, oh, this is so cool. Oh my God. You know what I mean? It's not because there's a familiarity there now, right? So that's how I kind of equate. It's still fucking spectacular though. I mean, it's ridiculous. Oh, my thing moved here. It's ridiculous. There we go. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, no, I think it's great.
It's amazing when you did the camera thing there. It's amazing to me because I always think about this when I watch your stuff, that your screen's here and you've trained yourself to not look at the screen. You've trained yourself to look up at the camera.
Yeah. So the screen is here. I have a screen over here as well. I have, I'm watching I think the Toronto Maple Leafs. Oh, good. They won. They won 7-2. I have, I wasn't paying attention to it, but I had, so you can see it's after the game. It's after the game. And I got another, it's some podcast guy who's talking about the,
that's funny.
Oh, this is now coming down here, talking about the, Leaf game. I'll fix that after. It's not a big deal. And then I have a screener. So that I have a 32-inch monitor in front of me here. This is a 27-inch monitor here. And then I have another 27-inch monitor in my booth, which is in here. You go in there and you go that way and it opens up, and that's where I do all my voiceover work. So, yeah, but no, I've trained to look right at the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because I've thought about that a lot, because I look at the screen when I'm doing these things.
Right.
I always try to remind myself the camera's here. And it's really hard to train yourself to look at that little dot.
It is. But you know, you do it long. I mean, look how many shows I do, how many live streams I do. I mean, it's just, you know, it's second nature now. So, you know, but yeah. Good question. It's a good question. These are good questions tonight. These are good questions.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, oh, thank you.
No, because
yeah, you're welcome.
Watching all the like the live shows and everything, and I'll be in there and I'll be like, should I say something? And then I'll be like you'll notice a lot of the questions tend to not repeat, but there are some of the same over and over and over, and that's not a bad thing, but it's, you know.
No, it's just, look, I mean, you know, you always do your, I mean, people have often said, you know, I've heard you say that 55 times. I was like, well, that's because you tune into every show. That's good. I'm glad you're tuning into every show, but not everybody does. And it's always somebody's first time watching. So just because you've heard me answer it 5,721 times, it could be the first time they're ever asking the question and they've never heard me say it. So, if somebody says, what did you think about Michael Myers when he fell off the balcony at the end of Halloween 1? This could be somebody's first time asking that. So I've got to answer it like I've never answered it before. And now, I mean, if I recognize that they've asked it 400 times before, that's different. But yeah, it's always somebody's first time watching.
Yep. Tony's saying I need to check out Lords of Salem, the only Rob Zombie I haven't seen. What's this?
Oh, he has a question.
Oh, sorry. He also asked a question. Dave, you've done and been involved in short films for Halloween, Black Christmas, Nightmare, and Friday. Is there any other horror franchise you'd like to get involved with for a short film?
No. So the short answer is no. So this is a great segue too, because so when it comes to the Halloween fan films I've done, those are just me farting around having fun, and I'm really glad that people have liked them and found value in them, but they're not professional films or anything like that. When it comes to Black Christmas, I'll get back to that in a second. Dylan's New Nightmare, obviously, is like Vincent DeSantis' Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow, and what he's doing now with Never Hike Alone 2, and like It's Me, Billy. Dylan's New Nightmare is a higher tier. It's professionally made. I mean, it's a fan film because they don't own the intellectual property, but it's a low budget, indie short. It's legit, as they say. So it's a short film, Dylan's New Nightmare. And if it is successful and people like it, then I will be more than happy to play Freddy Krueger again in the next installment, which Cecil has. I think Cecil has an idea for like 4 or 5 more installments. Or if it's so successful, then he may do what Vince has done, which is instead of doing 4 more installments, just take those 4 and make one feature-length film out of it. And I would be more than happy to reprise my role as Freddy. And if that's all who knows? I mean, maybe I'll get the call to be the real thing. Who knows? But if that doesn't happen, I'd be more than happy to continue playing Freddy in this New Nightmare fan series. When it comes to Black Christmas, obviously, It's Me, Billy was always intended to be the first part of a 2-part story. We ended it on that epic cliffhanger because we hopefully people liked it enough that we could use that as bait, to get everybody to come on board again. And so that's why we waited a bit to let the movie breathe online and let people discover it and see it. And now, of course, we're ready to jump into chapter 2. The Indiegogo campaign launches Monday, May the 1st. We hope everybody comes out and supports it because we do want to complete the story. We can't do it without you. I mean, that's not hyperbole. That's literally the truth. When you are crowdfunding, if the crowdfunding is not there, the movie doesn't get made. So we need everybody to step up. It's going to be a lot of money this time. I don't mean like millions, but I mean, it's going to be a lot of money. So we're going to run the campaign for 2 months. We would probably like to at least get, if it's $100,000 Canadian, we would like to get at least 50 or 60 of that. If we don't reach our goal, we would hope to at least get 50 or 60,000 of that before the campaign ends to warrant us justifying maybe running another one, right? If we only raise $5,000, well, clearly the interest is not there and we just refund everybody, and that fucking sucks. You know what I mean? So that's why we need everybody to step up. We can't make a $100,000 movie on a $5,000 budget. Not when you're doing it legit. You're hiring actors, you're dealing with unions, you're renting, Master Prime lenses and shooting on the area and having jibs and track, and, you're making a movie, and so it costs a lot, insurance and craft services and accommodations and locations, and it's the real deal. It's a fan film, sure, but it's really only fan film in name only at the end of the day. We can't make money off of it long term. As the producers, we can't, sell it to Prime or to Netflix or anything like that. We're allowed to raise money to make the movie, and then it has to live online for free for everybody to enjoy. So we're very excited about that. I'm getting to the question. We're very excited about that, obviously. So I'm involved in that. We really want to complete this 2-part miniseries that we have. Lynn Griffin, of course, who was in the original Black Christmas in 1974, is going to be in our film as well. She's playing a different character, but she's going to be in it. That's fantastic. There will be more casting news to come soon. And yeah, so we're very excited about that. However, when it comes to the fan films and things like that, I know, you know, the question was short films, but it was Halloween, Black Christmas, Nightmare Friday. So I took that to mean, you know, what I also like to do, Chucky or, you know, Pinhead or something. No. So this will be the last fan film that Bruce and I do, that we spearhead together, that we produce. Like I said, I'd be more than happy to be Freddy, but in terms of spearheading a project, this will be the last fan film that we do, because we want to move on to original work now, you know, not connected to a previous IP. And we do have treatments that we've written. It's Me, Billy Chapter 1 did open a couple of doors for us in that regard, which was really cool. We're hoping that Chapter 2 continues to do that. And we do have a treatment that is it's a feature-length horror film, not a slasher, but a horror film that we're very excited about. We think it's got a lot of commercial viability. And it's eerie and it's creepy and it's got all the Dave McRAE mood and atmosphere that you can expect. And so we're hoping that that will be maybe our next project that we do. But that's a movie that, you know, it's probably going to require like a budget of like $5 or $10 million or something like that. So that's not an easy thing. That's playing with the real big boys now. So, but in terms of like other short fan film stuff, no. It's Me, Billy's it. It's Me, Billy's it.
That's it.
That movie that, you know, what you're working toward, your own personal thing, would you consider that being like your magnum opus?
No, but I love the question. That was a great question. Look, that's a great question. Magnum opus. I love it. I love it. No, I wouldn't say that, but I would say that there is a project. Eddie's probably familiar with it. Maybe not, Eddie. I don't know. But I do have a project that I
Shelby
have been,
Oaks. Oh no, sorry,
that's
Chris Stuckman. That's
Chris Stuckman. That's Chris Stuckman.
Yours sounds familiar, like it's the name of a street, right?
Yes, that's correct. It's called Port Robinson Road.
There we go.
And I'm sure if anybody ever sees this who I went to college with is like, he's still talking about that? Holy shit. That was 23 years ago. Yes, I am. Shut up. Okay. That would be, I don't know if I'd say it's my magnum opus. Who knows? Maybe. But I would say that it is definitely, it's a passion project. It's based on it's based on an experience that I had in my second year of college. So it's based on a true story about an abandoned farmhouse I know it sounds so cliche, but it's true. It sounds like I'm making this shit up, but it's true. Oh, sorry. Can we swear on here? I'm sorry if I.
Fuck yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, good. I don't want to. It sounds like I'm making that shit up, but I'm not. And it would take too long to get into, but I'll just say that it was an experience about an abandoned farmhouse near my college residence that was supposedly haunted. And we did and this was, I mean, this is the year 2000. So this is before, you know, it was common. This is before Ghost Adventures. This is before Ghost Whisperer with Jennifer Love Hewitt. This is before Paranormal State. This is, you know, before the ghost hunting really became fashionable. We didn't call ourselves ghost hunters or anything like that. You know, we didn't know what the hell that was. We were just going over and investigating this house. We had our, you know, tape recorders and all that kind of stuff. And listen, I will just say that unusual things happened over there that I cannot explain. That does not mean that there isn't a human grounded, reasonable explanation for it. I you know, I've always said that more often than not, there are reasonable explanations for unusual occurrences, but there were some strange and unusual things that did happen to primarily, I was a witness primarily to a lot of this stuff. I was sort of the leader of the group, if you will, just because of my personality. I naturally gravitated to that position. But it was a really unusual and creepy, fascinating story that I always thought, even back then when I was in college, this would make a great movie one day. And so I started writing a screenplay in 2005. And I was working on it a little bit again in 2018. I haven't touched it since 2018. It definitely needs, polishing and tweaking and refining for sure. It's certainly not a shooting script, I'll tell you that. But the bones of it, is down there. And it may even change, a little bit now. And then as I became wiser and grew older, I realized that this isn't just, I don't want this movie to just be a standard run of the mill supernatural horror film. I want it to have some, the horror fans are going to hate this, but as what's common in nowadays, highbrow, right? I'm sure people hate that word, A24 stuff, but I don't mean that in a pretentious way. I mean that in terms of the crux of the meat of what the story is. And so, because for a lot of us, we weren't the typical archetypes that you see in these supernatural, you got the girl with the big boobs, you got the jock, you got the slut, it wasn't like that. It was just, we were just kids, 21 and we were heading out to this house, and these weird and unusual things happen. And then we ourselves began to question reality and consciousness and this kind of, that's so weird. Hear this on this tape. What is that? And I just thought that premise would make a fascinating movie. Watching these, it's mature, watching these group of kids really tackling this subject. And where does the seed of consciousness lie, and what happens when we die, and what is it all? And then you build that maturity, that maturity around that. And of course you take a few creative liberties, because you do have to entertain your audience, right? And you make a very scary, eerie film around that. And that's something that it's a passion. I don't know if it's my magnum opus, maybe it will be. But it's definitely a project that I hope to one day do. It's a personal project, and I hope to one day be able to do that, because if it's done right, if I have the money and if it's done right, man, I think of course I'm biased, but I think it could be something pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the title, I don't know if this will end up being the title, but it's called Port Robinson Road.
That's
Because
good.
that's the name of the street where the house was. And the house was like, it was an old abandoned farmhouse that was actually, I might even have I do. Can you just give me 1 second? I'll show you what the house looked like the actual house, what it looked like. Hang on 1 sec.
Oh my God, he took his headphones off.
Ah.
Oh my God.
Also, for those wondering, yes, this is a new setup.
Yes.
I think somebody asked that.
All right. So this was the first photo I ever took of the house. This is a photograph I took it with a disposable camera. Remember those? Those are fun. This is from, I took this photo in November of the year 2000. So I would have been 21. And this is the house. It's no longer there. It sadly burned to the ground in February of 2002. So it's been gone a long time. And now, of course, the shrubbery's just growing over it and all that kind of stuff. It sat about a football field away from the road. So you would have to park on the side of the road. And there were a few homes on the, at the street there, but you would walk down this grassed over driveway, and you would walk into the bushes and then open up, and here is this little farmhouse. And so this is what it looked like. This is the actual house.
Gonna make you a full screen here for a second.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
There you go.
It looks like it's from a horror movie.
Yeah. It looks like it's out of Texas.
It does, doesn't it? It does. Yeah, it does. And this was, it's cool. It's sadly not there anymore, of course, but that's the actual home. And weird and unusual things happened there. I'll never forget when I spoke to a woman who I had never met. I had found out because I had found, okay, I'm going to tell you the Coles Notes version of this. I had found a woman who used to live in the house when she was young. And this was back in college. And we had found her. She was working at a thrift store about 20 minutes away. And I called the thrift store, and she came on the phone. A thrift store is just like a Salvation Army, or like a, I'm sure you have them, in the States, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she was working there, and she picked up the phone, and I told her, and I made it sound educational, because people are more likely to talk to you and say, oh, I'm doing this I wasn't doing I would love to do a project on that, but I wasn't doing a project on that. But I made it sound like I was for, my film class or something, because people are more likely to help when it's educational. So I said, oh, I'm doing this project on this house on Port Robinson Road that I think we believe you used to live in. And she's like, oh, yes. I was like 17 or whatever. It's like back in the 70s I was there. Oh yeah. And I said, well, this is going to sound a little crazy. This is going to sound kind of strange, but, and I didn't know how she was going to take it. Right. Cause I didn't know. And I said, well, we have reason to believe that it's haunted. And without hesitation, I don't know this woman. I've never met this woman. I don't even know what she looks like. Without hesitation, like I don't mean any hesitation, it goes like this. Well, we have reason to believe that it's haunted. Oh, it is what she said. Oh, it is. And that right there was music to my ears, because I'm like, oh, maybe there really is something to this. Maybe we're not like, so they're really like these people, we are really seeing something or experiencing something weird. If a woman who hasn't lived in the house in 25 years, who I don't know, just without any hesitation, oh, it is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then she went on and told me sort of, all sorts of stuff. So it's fascinating. It's a story I hope to complete one day.
Wow.
Yeah. No, yeah. I've known about that for, like you said, quite some time. So that's hopefully that's on the horizon.
And it is copyrighted, folks, so don't get any ideas. Just saying.
Back off. And hopefully when it does come out and Durant Cinema sees it, that's how he'll review it. It's not white trash.
That's the way you got to do it. That's the way you got to do it. You got to review it that way. Hey, you know what? It's not white trash.
I was going to say, Dave, are there white trash elements in this script, or is it completely not white trash?
There are in It's Me, Billy, or in Port Robinson Road, there are no white trash moments in Port Robinson Road. No. I might add one in now that you've mentioned it. I might see if Sherry Moon Zombie wants to be in it, but yeah.
Everybody knows movies fall into one of two categories. It is or it is not white trash.
That's true. Yep, 100%.
And the Oscar for best white trash goes.
That's right. Oh God, Ronnie from Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Oh, fuck the shit out.
Oh man, the food's coming out of his mouth and everything. It's like Jesus. And I've told this before. I took my then 63-year-old mother to go and see it. I'm sitting in the theater beside my 63-year-old mother, listening to this kind of language and watching this. It was really awkward. It was really awkward.
It was, yeah. Oh, boy. Oliver wants to know if you've seen The Collector.
I haven't seen The Collector. I've heard good things about it, but I have not seen it yet. No.
Okay. Have you seen The Collector?
No, but I've heard of it.
I've seen The Collector.
I've heard of it.
This is a great screen name, Cake Reaper.
Cake Reaper, yes.
Hello, Cake Reaper.
Cake Reaper is great.
Ooh, this is controversial. Movie Collector, I think Nightmare on Elm Street remake is underappreciated.
Yeah, I think there's, I think there's elements of it that are pretty cool. I like the micro dream thing, the micro nap kind of thing. I think that's a cool element that was added. I think, it's competently made. Of course, it looks good in terms of the production value and things like that. I just think it was it lacked sort of heart. I think Rooney Mara is a good actress, but I think when we met her, she was already sort of emo and down and affected by Freddy. When we're introduced to Nancy, we're introduced to that bubbly sort of final girl, and we're able to see that kind of fall. When we're introduced to Nancy, she's already kind of looking like she needs sleep and all this kind of, it's just a very dreary kind of depressing movie, which maybe maybe that's why some people really like it. For me, I just think it needed a little bit of heart to it. Certainly not the worst remake I've ever seen, but it definitely didn't live up to expectations.
Then we got some good comments on the trailer. That looks really good. That looks incredible. Mizzy saying, can't wait for this. I'm a huge Freddy fan.
Amazing.
Tony was saying that looks great. Horror and more, I guess, commenting on your casting decisions. Cast me next.
Well, you never know. You never know.
What do we got? The trailer looked great, though. I always get the sudden urge to binge Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. I don't usually binge any franchise. I usually stop after a certain amount, but yeah.
Yep. And Gavin, this is a good comment because I was in that live stream as well when you were getting your head casted.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I was getting my head cast. That was when it was 2019. That was 2019. I was heavier then too. I was about 100 because right now I actually, since then, that video, I think I'm about, I want to say I'm 22 or 23 pounds lighter than I was there. Which this is the weight I should be. I was a little heavy in that video. Admittedly, looking back on it, I was a little heavy in that video. But I had to get into I had to get into Freddy shape anyway, but I also had to lose weight anyway. So whatever. So it's good. It's good. But yeah, no, that was fun. That was a cool experience.
And we are about to cross 2 hours. So we are going to wind this down because what time is it? It's going on 10:30. So
10:30. Yeah. Hey, we're in the same time zone.
Yeah. So we're going to round it out here. So everybody get in those last minute questions. And we're going to bring up our final one. Although I do think you did already do it. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but give us a fans of something exclusive and share something you've never shared before. And I am relating that to that photo. Have you ever shown that photo before?
This photo here of the Port Robinson Roadhouse? No, I don't know. I might have. I'm not sure, but certainly not recently. That's for sure.
Okay. If there's anything else you can think of, something you've never shared before, ever on your channel.
Something I've never shared before.
It can be a little tiny detail. It can be something major.
That's a
little story or a
because everyone knows, like I saw a question, what's your favorite nightmare film? We all know it's Part 2.
Well, the first one's my favorite, but I do love Part 2. Yeah, I do love Part 2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry, the first one and then the second one.
Yeah. A story, something I haven't shared before. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm trying to think of a story, maybe something.
Keep stumping him.
I know. Well,
you do. But they're good questions, though. That's what I like about them. They're good questions. I don't think there's anything I haven't. I'm just looking around my studio here at all my pop culture things, but I'm pretty sure everybody's seen all that stuff. In terms of, well, I do have Harrison Ford's autograph. I don't know if Harrison Ford's my favorite actor. I didn't meet him. This was purchased as a gift for me. It's authenticated. It is actually his signature and everything, which is kind of cool. I don't know if I've ever showed that on camera before, but it's really cool. I mean, it's probably going to go up in value when the guy passes. But, not that I want him to pass or anything, but
I know, right?
Let me see here. This is him in a promotional image from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there's his little autograph down there. Right. And this was a gift to me from my sister Jill. Shout out to my sister Jill. I've had this for about 20 years, and it was picked up at a professional autograph collection sort of auction kind of thing, and yeah. So it's a pretty cool thing he's my favorite actor of all time. So it's a pretty cool thing to have. Yeah. So I don't know if I might have showed that before. I'm not really sure. I don't really know. I don't really know. It's a very good question. I'm gonna look back here. Oh, well, I have showed these before. My father was, I grew up in a media family, and my father was a journalist. He passed away in 2011, but he was at one time he was one of Canada's top sports writers, and but he also did not just sports, but a lot of other things too. And on my back wall, I've said this. I think I've shared photos on my social media, but I have photos of my dad with the Beatles and Robert Kennedy and Burton Cummings of the Guess Who, my dad and my mother with Liberace, which is pretty funny. I wonder if I can.
You don't have to rearrange your room.
Which one? I'll pick one. Which one do you want to see?
I'd like to see probably a stereotypical answer, but I'd like to see the Beatles.
The Beatles. Okay, one sec.
The Beatles.
Wow, Dave McRae rearranging his room for us.
Yeah, that's an exclusive. We'll take
So, quick backstory before I show it. So, this is 1960. Whenever they came to Toronto, I think they came to Toronto twice. This is 1965, whatever it was, at the King Edward Hotel in downtown Toronto. My dad would have been like 22 at this time, young reporter for the Toronto Star. And my dad was very much like me. Of course, it was easier to do this back then. You can't do this now. You just can't behave this way now. But back then it was easier to be shifty. And, you know, my dad used to often say that if you look important, you can get into certain areas. It doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter how important you look now. It's much more, you know, with all the security cameras and cell phones and, you know, it's a different world, right? But back in the 60s, if you looked important, you could get into certain areas. And my dad knew, so my dad was able to get up to the Beatles hotel room, and he knocked on the door, and I forget who opened the door. I don't know if it was Lennon or somebody opened the door. It might've been one of their staff opened the door. And my dad was talking about, well, is this I thought this was he's making up a story, and well, maybe I could just talk to you guys for, whatever. Right. Well, they were suspicious, they're kind of like, who's this? Yeah. Because my dad was only 22 at the time. Right. So who's this young reporter with the, white shirt and a black tie and, the horn rimmed black glasses, looks like something out of a Hollywood movie. It's the 60s. And, so he didn't get too far. He talked to them. There was a bit of a discussion. And then, of course, they shooed my dad away. Well, my dad knew that the Beatles would be leaving the King Edward Hotel throughout the back, not out the front where all the screaming girls were. They would be leaving out the back. So my dad went into the basement, which is where they were coming. And the photo that you're going to see is, I think it was a Toronto Star photographer that took it, and it's a lot of dust. I got to dust these. And the photo you're going to see is of Paul McCartney and John Lennon. It's in the basement of the King Edward Hotel in Toronto. And my dad is off to the side. Actually, the picture's a little cut off. There's a little bit more of the picture, but anyway, it's just the frame. My dad's off to the side, and he's got a pen in his hand, and he's pointing. He's going like this. He's going like that. And he's pointing at them. And Lennon is looking at my dad with like a big smile on his face. And McCartney, I think McCartney's eyes are kind of half open, and he's kind of like this. And I said to my dad, I said, what's going on here? And he says, well, the jig was up. He said they knew immediately that I think maybe my dad didn't tell them that he was a reporter. I think he had made some other thing up to be able to get in and talk to them. That's what it was. And then in the basement, it was obvious that he was a reporter, because standing around here are photographers and reporters. And he said that my dad is pointing, saying, he's saying something like, I thought I was going to be able to talk to you guys or something like that. And Lennon is like, hey, you're the guy that was, you're a reporter. Like, it's that kind of a conversation that's happening. Mm-hmm. And the Toronto Star photographer happened to snap it at that moment. So this is the photo. Can you see that?
There it is. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
This is my dad over here, right there. And this is John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And They're both looking at my dad like, oh, it's you. Aren't you the guy that was at our fucking hotel door? You know what I mean? And my dad's like, yeah, I was trying to. So, a really cool moment in time.
Yeah. You're from like this angle, from this far away, your dad almost kind of looks like Woody Allen.
He looked nothing like Woody Allen, I can tell you that. But look at the old, look at, receiver, the old phone and everything, Wow. Yeah, this has got to be like 1960, I don't know, 5 or 6 or, whatever it was. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. So that's really cool. And Robert Kennedy and Liberace and everything too. It's cool. And there's so many, like I have photos of my dad with John Candy and it's cool as a young kid growing up in a media family. It was always interesting for sure.
Wow. That's a one of a kind photo you got there too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's cool. You know, it's really cool, to say the least, you know, and, I wish my dad was around now because, you know, my parents they had me when my dad was 37, my mom was 35. So a little later in life. I wasn't an accident, by the way. But a little late, of course, now I guess it's kind of common to have kids in your 30s, but back then it certainly wasn't. And, so a little later in life. And, when my dad died, I was 32. So I was just becoming that, you know, adult, right? And very early, you know what I mean? So it would be nice to be able to be a 40-year-old man and still have a relationship with my and you know, my mom too, because she's passed as well, and have that relationship with my parents in my 40s. It'd be like my dad would love this. I could see my dad having a podcast, you know, and having his own show, and I'd probably have to produce it for him because he wouldn't know what the hell to do, you know, and he'd be, you know what I mean? Like I could totally see, and he'd come on my channel, you know, and he'd tell you all the stories about all this stuff. And it's just, you know what I mean? That's why you got to do what you got to do now. Cause you never know.
And there we go.
Not to end on a downer.
No. Honestly, I think that was, you know, it started going down and then you saved it with,
I saved it.
You know, you have to go after what you need and what you want to do.
You got to go after what you need. You gotta, you know, grab life by the
testicles,
by the horns by the testicles, and just, you know, you got to do what you got to do, you know, and so you have no regrets. I think everybody, if you don't accomplish your dreams or you don't accomplish that goal that you thought you were going to get or that you always had your heart set on, I think people can live with it if they gave it their best. It's not even trying that is the regret.
Yep. And with that, folks, that is gonna wrap it up here. So just seeing if we got any everyone just talking to each other here, so that's really cool.
They don't care about me anymore. Who's this Dave guy?
I was gonna say.
Oh, they're streaming?
Yeah. Oh, this is live? Oh.
Maybe one last question here. We'll end on this because I know you love Carpenter. I'm wondering what Dave's favorite Carpenter movie is that isn't Halloween or The Thing.
That'd be The Fog.
I was gonna say you really like The Fog.
I do. I think that is underrated. There you go.
Yeah.
Ghost Pirates.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
All right. So when the Indiegogo campaign drops, which is May 1st,
Monday, May 1st.
A week in the description. 1 week from today?
No, 1 week from this Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be here before you know it, and runs for 2 months, right?
Runs for 2 months. It'll run from May 1st to July 1st.
So there you go. And hypothetically, you will, but hypothetically, you don't reach the goal. Can you extend the campaign?
No. So if we reach the goal, we can. So the great thing about if we reach our goal is that the campaign can then be put into what's called demand. Okay. And we can continue to raise money after for a certain amount of time. I don't know, another couple of months or something. I can't remember. I don't know how long it is, but not indefinitely, but I don't think indefinitely anyway. But certainly that's why it's so great to be able to get it into demand. If we don't reach our goal, it would all depend on, then we would run another campaign to try and make up the difference. It depends on how close we are to the goal, right? I mean, and maybe there's money coming from somewhere else, right? I mean, you know, perhaps maybe we'll look at, you know, other avenues. But if we are just using Indiegogo, which at the moment looks like our main thread, but, you know, we'll know more soon. There's a lot of wheels that are moving right now. Mm-hmm. It would depend on how much you raise. So like I said, if we want to raise if we need to raise $100,000 Canadian, which is 80 something US, then we hope we can at least get at least half, at least 50 or 60 of that to warrant saying, okay, there's definitely passion and interest here. Maybe if we run another campaign for 2 months, we'll make up the difference, you know, but so that's why, yeah, It's so important. We're very excited about this. We want to show you how this ends. Black Christmas fans, horror fans, indie horror fans, we want to show you how this ends, but we can't do it without you. And if you haven't seen It's Me, Billy, it's on Vimeo as well. It's also on YouTube for free. You can check it out. And if you're a big Black Christmas fan, you'll probably really like it and really appreciate it. If you're not a Black Christmas fan, then you probably won't like it. Because stylistically, it's in, you know, in the same vein of that theater of the mind, slow burn kind of horror. It's not a Freddy, it's not a Jason. So if that's what you want, you're not going to get it there. So you are forewarned. But yeah. I appreciate you having me on and sharing it and continuing to get the word out there, guys. I really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and we appreciate you coming on here and spending 2+ hours with us on this Thursday night. 420. Happy 420. Everybody.
That's right. That's right. Happy 420. That's
And
right.
done.
Happy 420. And I'm done. And I'm out. I'm out.
All right. Go check him out. His links down below. It'll take you over to his channel. It's got all his socials, all that good stuff. It's all over there. It's one of the best channels out there.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Can't say it more. But we'll be back soon. So, but Dave, just stick around. We'll do a formal goodbye once the stream's over.
I got you.
But yeah, we'll see everybody soon. Thank you for tuning in, everybody that came, went, said hello, said goodbye, did all that stuff. You're awesome. We'll be back in a couple days with another show. But until then, one thing you have to do, keep being fans of something. Bye, everybody.